We are now 24 days until the election. We're going to look back at this past week, the hurricanes, the media, the gaffes, and all the repercussions that will affect this election. Let's do this.
We ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the founding fathers. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth.
Trade your freedom for a false sense of right. Together we're stronger, we won't be denied. This is freedom's last stand, let's turn the tide. Let's turn the tide.
Welcome to Political Weathervane. I'm Sean.
And I'm Ben.
Our first story of the day is I've talked about the new report that came from the nonpartisan nonprofit Committee for Responsible Federal Budget. And it found that Trump's plan would add $4 trillion more to the debt compared to Harris. And I think this is absurd. But if the Trump's estimated economic plan would sink the nation to $7.5 trillion more in the debt over the next decade, while Harris's proposals would cost the government half that, around $3.5 trillion. Well, I think that's absurd because they're counting Trump's tax cuts that he wants to extend that they passed in 2017 as part of that $7.5 trillion. And tax cuts do not equal debt.
Okay, so the government is basically saying that the money that's coming in right now is their money, and saying that a tax cut, meaning they'll get less revenue, or whatever you want to call it, less money from taxes.
Yeah,
and
revenue.
Whatever, because I know some people don't like to use that word revenue. But
yeah, you're right.
But they're taking it away and saying, "Oh, that's a loss."
That's what they're using.
Yeah,
and plus Harris's all her proposal ideas, I think, are going to cost more than $3.5 trillion because she wants to cancel student debt. She wants to put in that Green New Deal, all these different goodies, and I think it's going to cost more than $3.5 trillion.
And also, you don't know if that money's going to turn up and actually make more money for taxes later on.
You're talking about Trump.
Yeah, tax cut. That money's going to go somewhere else. That money's going to be either invested or someone's going to.
You're talking about the Laffer curve.
Yeah, well, that's trickle-down economics.
Yeah.
But, you don't know. I won't say that all that money is going to go, back to the government or whatever. But I assume that they'll be making more with taxes because that money, people spend money, people invest money, and it's going to be invested and it's going to be taxed eventually.
Plus, there's rumors that Trump wants to end the way that Congress budgets. They have baseline budgeting. And he wants to end that. And if you don't know what baseline budgeting is, it's basically that the government uses what they had, the same levels that they did the year before, but they add money to it every year.
Yeah.
So he wants to so I think that would actually trim down some of the cost as well.
Yeah. I read some articles this week too, and I wonder if you can answer this question. Okay. Trump wants to do no taxes on tips.
Yeah, he does.
Okay, so what's the difference between what Kamala wants to do with taxes on tips and Trump? Because they said that it's going to cost more money the way Trump wants to do it than Kamala. Do you know, or you're not sure?
That I'm not sure. Kamala really she's not ever specific on a lot of her proposals. And I'm not exactly sure.
I mean, let me see if I can find the article, and then we can just talk about it a second. So it's in the article that you were just reading.
Yeah, from NPR. The Harris campaign told NPR their plan is distinct, as their policy would have caps on salary, meant to prevent high earners from marking all their salary as tip wages and taking advantage of the policy. The Harris campaign said it also plans to increase the minimum wage in tandem with not taxing tips. That doesn't make any sense because how can you make enough? What high earner gets paid through tips?
I don't know. Maybe there's some way, some loop around it. I don't know. I'm not sure. But if they said they're going to increase the minimum wage, how many people make $7.25 an hour right now?
But also remember, the minimum wage for like waitresses and stuff is still like $2.13
Oh, is it like
after
that?
all these years. But I don't know how many waitresses make that. But that's still the minimum wage.
Okay.
Okay, the Committee for Responsible Federal Budget estimates Harris' no tax on tips policy would cost $200 billion over 10 years, while Trump's would cost $300 billion.
Okay.
So $100 billion difference.
I think it's important for everybody to do their research, kind of look at the budgets. If you're still undecided at this point. But we'll be back with another segment, and this is about Kamala Harris and the rough week that she had. Welcome back to Political Weathervane. This week was probably Kamala Harris's worst week that she's had since she's began her run for the presidency. There's a website called Hot Air that did the top 10 gaffes that she had this week. I'm not going to go through all of them because I don't believe some of them are gaffes. And they also mentioned that she kept saying the number 32, and they said it was in relation to O.J. Simpson. And that's not actually true. She was talking about Magic Johnson, and the clip was edited to make it appear that way. So that's not actual factual. But I'm going to go through a couple of these because I've kind of read through and I thought they were good to share. They have number 5 on the list. It says, we're on a live broadcast, guys. And I don't have a clip of it, but Kamala Harris was desperate to look part of the crisis. And she set up a Zoom call with the government's emergency management personnel to be briefed on the hurricanes and what the path of the hurricane in Florida. She appeared that she was talking to them through the Zoom call, but however, she was actually being fed questions from a staffer. And she tried to make it look like she was being talked to and look questions, but actually somebody else was on the other line of the Zoom call talking, and she forgot to press the mute button while she was acting like she was answering a question on the Zoom call, but somebody else was talking. So it kind of made her look foolish and everything, but it was just a photo op to make her look like that she was like part of it and like navigating the storm coming and everything. But it was actually management personnel. But they just tried to make it look like a photo op, and it failed miserably because on the other line, the guy started talking while she was talking.
You know, I never even heard that story.
I didn't hear that earlier until, I guess it probably didn't get a lot of coverage. And me, he's like, nope, not going to use that.
Yeah, you think that they would have used that.
We can move on to the next. There's number 4. I will not be ignored by Ron DeSantis. All right, and I do have a clip for this one.
And I've heard about this.
All right.
Governor DeSantis, NBC is reporting Governor DeSantis is ignoring your calls on hurricanes, resources, and help. How does that hurt the situation here?
You know, moments of crisis, if nothing else, should really be the moment that anyone who calls themselves a leader says they're going to put politics aside and put the people first. People are in desperate need of support right now, and playing political games at this moment in these crisis situations, these are the height of emergency situations, is just utterly irresponsible, and it is selfish, and it is about political gamesmanship instead of doing the job that you took an oath to do, which is to put the people first.
And that's exactly what Kamala Harris was doing. See, she's not the president of the United States. So he's like, why am I even talking to you? Because you're just pretending to play president and pretending to look good. While, in fact, he was actually talking to the real president. And this is a clip from Joe Biden backing that up.
Mr. President, does Governor DeSantis need to take Vice President Harris's calls?
All I can tell you is I'm talking to Governor DeSantis. He's been very gracious. He's thanked me for all we've done. He knows what we're doing, and I think that's important.
Can you say?
And did you see what Ron DeSantis' comment was? Basically that she's not the president and we got to stop playing political games, and I have a job to do to help for the citizens. He has done a great job managing the crisis of the hurricane. And I'm not a big fan of Ron DeSantis, but I gotta give him a lot of credit.
I definitely agree. Ron DeSantis has done a remarkable job with Hurricane Milton. Prayers to everybody that is going through that crisis right now with the hurricanes in North Carolina and in Florida. But now moving on to another comment that Kamala made, but this was on 60 Minutes. They asked about Ukraine and basically what success would look like in Ukraine, and she gave a really strange answer.
What does success look like in ending the war in Ukraine? There will be no success in ending that war without Ukraine and the UN Charter participating in what that success looks like.
So they want to cut out Russia completely from having the war end. That makes no sense.
It basically makes it sound like they're leaving it up to the UN to decide how everything should go, which is...
And they really think Putin's going to put up with that?
Yeah, that's the wrong group right there.
If Trump was in office, I think Trump might be able to come to a deal between Zelensky and Putin. But it's not going to be like right when he gets into office. It's going to take time. You know, he's said multiple times that he'll get the crisis to end months into his presidency, but I don't think it's going to take... It'll take some time.
You'd be surprised. We'll see. I am going to play the 32 days clip just because I want to make the point that she lost her teleprompter and she had no idea what to say. So I'm just going to play that real fast.
Remember his number, 32. Today we got 32 days until the election. So 32 days. 32 days. Okay, we got some business to do. All right. 32 days. And we know we will do it. And this is going to be a very tight race until the very end. This is going to be a very tight race until the very end. We are the underdog, and we know we have some hard work ahead.
Yeah, you can clearly tell that she has no... To me, it doesn't sound like she has a clear vision that everything is basically on the teleprompter, and she can't think quick on her feet.
No. And that's the thing about Trump is he can think quick on his feet.
Yeah, that's one of his attributes, I definitely would say.
Even though he says some dopey things sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes he's he's just a very direct person.
And sometimes he says things that he doesn't mean, but he's not thinking at that moment.
Well, he's quick on his feet, but sometimes he goes a little bit overboard with it and over insinuates and stuff. He likes to do that. All right, the last Kamala Harris gaffe that I have for this week was when she was on The View and they asked her basically what her difference would be with Joe Biden, if she done things differently.
If anything, would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind in terms of, and I've been a part of most of the decisions that have had impact.
Wow. She can't think of anything that she would not do differently than Biden. What about the Afghan withdrawal?
Yeah, there's a lot of things you could look back on and go, why would I have done that?
The border. What in the world? And then she tries to act like they're not in office sometimes, and then sometimes she acts like...
It's a constant flow of back and forth. Sometimes she looks like, yep, I'm part of the administration and everything, and we lowered insulin prices and everything else, and we make things affordable. And then other times she looks and she's on the outside going, shh, this country is falling apart, and we need change, and we need a new generation to come in. And the funny thing is she's a boomer. She keeps pretending that she's like, I'm Generation X, or I'm a millennial. And she is turning 60, actually in about,
I don't know when her
10 days
birthday
or so. I think
is
her
her
birthday's
birthday?
October 20th.
Oh, okay, I did not know that. She'll be 60.
So, yep, that's a hidden fact there.
Okay.
Yep, and that's all I got for this week. We'll see if this coming week gets any worse for her.
Or better.
Or better.
Kamala Harris is killing the American dream.
Kamala Harris claims to support the middle class. But across the board, the middle class suffers under Kamala Harris's radical policies and agendas. Gasoline, electricity, airfare, groceries, housing, car insurance, and even school lunch costs have surged under Kamala Harris.
Starting on day one, we will defeat inflation quickly and we will make America affordable again. We're getting your prices way down. I will cut your energy costs in half. We will make America the dominant energy producer in the world by far. We will create the biggest, greatest, and strongest middle class in the history of our country. In short, it will be a national economic renaissance. It's time for the working man and woman to finally catch a break. We are going to bring back the American dream bigger, better, and stronger than ever before.
Welcome back to Political Weathervane. As you guys know, the hurricanes, Hurricane Helene and Hurricane Milton, which hit Florida, there was a lot of concern over will people be able to vote in North Carolina, and will the turnout be high enough in these rural areas for Donald Trump? What I've read in reports and everything is that voting, that's a top concern in the rural areas, but they believe in more of the bigger cities like Asheville and everything, which Biden carried, they'll be up and running in time. So there's concern that Trump might lose the state. But how do you feel, Sean?
I don't know. I don't think this has ever happened before, where a state got hit right before an election and it actually changed the voting.
The voting outcome?
Yeah.
Well, we had Hurricane Sandy right before, didn't we?
We did, but it really didn't change.
It didn't change anything. Wasn't it like New Jersey or whatever?
New York and New Jersey.
Yeah, see, those aren't battleground states, so it really didn't matter either way. But it says that the state, which is the state we're talking about, is North Carolina. Board of Elections said Monday in a news release to staff that our workers are working to ensure voters that affected by the storm can still cast their ballots. Noting the election officials in the counties, the Federal Emergency Management has designated a disaster area, has been contacted to assess potential effects on absentee and in-person voting. As of Tuesday morning, Board of Election counties such as Avery, Buncombe, Henderson, Mitchell, and Watauga, which is located where Boone is located, and Yancey were all closed. The release also notes that absentee voting is currently underway in the Tar Heel State right now, while in-person voting will begin October 17th, and early voting will end on November 2nd. Additionally, the state board will provide emergency kits to counties without internet service and describe the release as election office in a box.
Yeah, they might have to just do mail-in voting in some areas in North Carolina.
To allow workers to continue preparing for the election, including registered voters, processing absentee ballots requests. It sounds like, that they're going to be trying to have people get them emails and everything and try to register through a different voting system and send ballots in. Says the local United States Postal Service is running in these areas.
Let's just hope North Carolina isn't the deciding state, because that would be trouble.
This uncertainty can have political implications in November. Asheville, county seat of Buncombe, has been hit hard with the catastrophe, is where Joe Biden in 2020 was swaying solidly for Joe Biden in 2020, while these other counties in the western part are generally deep red and at least go for at least 30 points for Donald Trump. And that's Avery, Mitchell, and Yancey. It seems like these states will not be up and running entirely by Election Day.
You mean counties?
These counties, yeah. So that's kind of political professor said. And if one is concerned about the political ramifications, I think the Republicans have a lot more to be concerned about with their ability to get voters to vote in these rural areas.
That's a real problem.
Yeah. So there's a lot that's got to be done on the ground. It says that more Democratic counties will be up and running than Republican counties. That's what it's basically saying. I don't know how this can be averted. I mean, if they're in these areas, they're going to have the will to vote and really have to actually try to vote, which is really sad.
Yeah, it really is.
So hopefully, I wonder if they could do something with like buses and everything, like have buses show up.
Take people to certain places?
No, I mean just vote on the bus like they do out here. Like have
they could
a voter bus.
That is true. There is a voter bus that happens in Michigan City.
Yeah, I think that would be very effective. Do you think another concern will be that people are moving out of the area because of all the damage right now?
That's another problem.
I think the best thing to do if people are in this area right now is to have the system to either call. What would be the place to call?
Or mail it in.
A mail-in service. But I mean, you have to get a ballot and you got an absentee vote. But how do you get that absentee vote right now?
What a mess.
It is a mess. Hopefully they can get this straightened out and hopefully they can have a free and fair election.
Yeah.
This concerns me a great deal right now.
Me too.
Is there anything that you want to add for this week, Sean? Did you see anything in the polls that
the polls, actually, yeah, because it looks like Trump's starting to gain a little bit more ground and Harris is just staying at the same level.
Yeah, a lot of people are saying that she's plateaued and that she's reached her peak point. This election's getting more and more interesting and it changes constantly.
Yeah, it's because everybody has a different formula for when they do the polls.
Yep. Do you think there'll be a clear winner on election day?
No. We won't know on election night, I don't think.
I don't think so either. I think it's going to be too close to call in a lot of states.
The election's on a Tuesday. We'll probably know by Friday of that week.
It just scares me with this that they go, what if it's all down to North Carolina?
Yeah, that's what I just brought up. What if, that would be really bad.
And all the stuff that's going on there right now. Florida's doing a great job handling the hurricane, like they always do.
Ron DeSantis is a real leader.
All right, and that pretty much wraps up our show. I hope everybody has a good weekend. We are only 24 days until Election Day. Have a good weekend.
This is for Donald Trump, a chance to go out the winner he must be.
Kamala Harris demands respect. If it's not given to her, she demands it.
It's about the country that you want.
The choice could not be more stark.
The choice 2024, Harris versus Trump.
They want to control us, make us comply, but we'll break the chains, we'll defy and fly. Kamala's vision may loom overhead, but in the land of the brave, we won't live in dread. Our spirits unbroken, we'll stand hand in hand. Together we fight, this is freedom's last stand. So raise your voice, let the world hear our fight. Don't trade your freedom for a false sense of right. Together we're stronger, we won't be denied. This is freedom's last stand, let's turn the tide.